Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us again today. I'm here with Hannah York, who is an alum of SIT Study Abroad, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. Again, my name's Ian Hefele, and I'm one of the admissions counselors here at SIT Study Abroad headquarters. Thank you very much, Hannah, for joining us, and if you wouldn't mind taking a moment to introduce yourself.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. My name's Hannah York. You guys already said that, but I'm a senior at Skidmore College, and I studied in Kunming, China, which is in the Yunnan province. It's kind of unknown, but it's a really awesome place.
Thanks very much. Now, let's just dive right into the questions.
Sounds good.
What is the main reason you ended up choosing your SIT program of China, languages, culture, and ethnic minorities?
Yeah, I guess I'd say the main reason I chose my SAT program was definitely because of how diverse the program was in terms of its structure. So when I first started researching abroad options, I noticed that a lot of programs were either homestay or dorms or individual work or like work within a classroom. So what I really found appealing about the SIT program was just that it allowed me the freedom to experience all aspects of abroad, both homestay and dorm, and both classroom and individual work, which was the classic ISP. I guess another reason would be definitely the unique location of the program. So I come from a pretty big city, and I wanted to go someplace somewhat smaller and different and outside of my comfort zone a little bit, and SIT really offered that to me.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that with us. Now, what key skills do you believe you gained while you were studying abroad with SIT?
I would say a key skill I gained on my SAT program was definitely being able to travel alone. Before my abroad experience, I had never really traveled on my own. Well, certainly nothing compared to what an abroad experience makes you face. So learning how to do so was really empowering because it kind of demystified something I had originally seen as so kind of daunting, and it made me think if I could do that, I could definitely do other things that scared me.
That's good to hear as well there.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna make you winnow down your answer a little bit here, and
Okay.
could you let me know what is one thing that you learned while on SIT study abroad that you don't believe you could have learned anywhere else?
Uh, well, it's hard because I learned a ton abroad, but I guess one of the most important to me was the ability to be more independent and comfortable with being alone. So I guess it's something you can learn elsewhere, but abroad really forced me to do it, forced me to grow because I didn't have the luxury of calling my friends or my mom or anything when things got tough. So it basically taught you to take solace in yourself, which I think is something an abroad experience makes you experience because it's just you go on your own and you're with a group of people you don't know, and it's a lot, but you should learn how to deal with that on your own.
Okay. Now, you mentioned you went with a group of people you don't know. SIT study abroad programs do tend to be on the smaller side than other more traditional study abroad programs. But have you maintained contact? And I'm sure going through the experience, you got to know your cohort and classmates really well. Now, since you've been back, have you maintained contact with some of those that were over in China with you?
Yeah, that's totally true. My program only had about 14 students in it, and it was amazing. I actually chose the program because none of them actually went to Skidmore, and I wanted that kind of experience with people all over the world. And I have maintained contact with a couple of really close friends. One of my best friends abroad, he actually lives in Japan, but he goes to school in Bates, so it's much easier to communicate with him. But it was great meeting people who I don't see every day, and I can, call and be like, "Do you remember that time? We were in China together." It's a very unique experience and connection with someone that you wouldn't have with your friends here. At school.
Okay, and that leads us into the next question very well, actually. What was your favorite aspect of your SIT study abroad program?
Oh. My favorite aspect of my program was definitely the Yunnan exploration project. I don't know whether or not people are familiar with it, but it's basically just a project that allowed me to travel back to where I was born in China, which is something I really never thought I would do. And I can't thank SIT enough for allowing me the opportunity and the stipend needed to get me there.
Now, was that part of your independent study project at the end, or how were you able to work that? If you could elaborate on how you worked that into your study abroad semester, I'm
Yeah,
sure
of
any
course.
prospective students would like to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it would be confusing if you hadn't been on the program. Essentially, it was a test run for the ISP, kind of. So you were allowed a certain amount of time. I think we were given a week tops to travel someplace that we really wanted to go, that was approved by the program director, and to come back and report on it and report on what we learned and people we met there. So that was kind of like a dry run for the ISP project, which really makes you travel for a much longer time period. So that's what that was. So
Okay, and do you want to mention in a couple sentences what you ended up doing for your own ISP?
my own ISP? Yeah, yeah, of course. Well, I'm an Asian studies major and a business minor, and I was really interested in combining the two. So I actually looked at gender inequality in the workplace as it related to in sorry internationalism and globalization. So I actually went to a TCM hospital, which is a traditional Chinese medicine hospital, and I looked at, because it's a very centralized hospital, so it doesn't do a lot of globalization, anything like that. And I wanted to see whether or not the gender inequality was better or worse, or what kind of trends you saw, as opposed to ones that are in like Beijing, which are very international.
That sounds fascinating, and I'm hoping you were able to utilize the ISP period to get some research done on that.
Oh yeah, a ton.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned a little earlier that there were only 14 on your semester in China, and as you know now, but people who are applying to the programs don't exactly know, we do tend to keep our programs on the smaller side because that's part of the experiential learning. But that also means that sometimes people haven't heard of SIT study abroad at all.
hmm Right.
So I want to know if you were talking to somebody who hasn't ever heard of us, how would you describe it?
Well, I mean, as cliche as it sounds, I think the way in which SIT describes themselves in terms of the experimental learning is perfect. Because, abroad is an amazing experience, but you could say the same about college. But what really differentiates them is taking the topics you can only imagine at your university and putting them in real life situations and seeing something right in front of you. And it's just a completely different and humbling experience. And I think that's what SIT really utilizes. I mean, through my program, I was able to attend lectures at the top of mountains and learn meditation skills with the living Buddha. So it's those kind of experiences that, SIT really excels in, I think.
Well, thank you very much. Thank
Yeah.
you very much for sharing that. Now, I have one last question for you.
hmm
You mentioned you were an Asian Studies major at Skidmore, and have you pursued continuing studies around your program theme? And obviously, you have around the location.
Yeah, yeah. Well, to be honest, right now I'm still kind of internalizing all that I learned and experienced over my broad experience, because you do get a lot. But if my major goes as planned, which I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, I'm really interested in like further pursuing and expanding upon my ISP topic. So we're for the Asian Studies major, you're required to do a project similar. So it's great having this kind of information already handed to me, and then I can look in the U.S. side basically. So, but other than that, I'm staying open-minded and seeing what else comes along.
Excellent. Thanks very much there. Uh, have we lost the call? No. Okay, sorry about the technical difficulty there. It sounded like the call was about to drop. Even even here in America, sometimes they
I know the
have
Wi-Fi
to.
in China, man. Not easy to deal with sometimes.
Well, that's part of studying abroad. It
Oh
helps you
yeah,
deal with problems that you may get at home as well, right?
for sure. It
Yeah.
definitely cut me off of my texting addiction, so that's a very
Oh.
good thing.
So I don't know if SIT can really take the credit for that, though.
Okay, so China.
Okay, well, now that's the end of my prepared questions, but I wanted to ask if you had any last words to share with us today, and just any parting words of wisdom for someone who may be considering studying abroad in China or any other study abroad program that SIT has to offer.
Right. Well, I mean, it it's an amazing program, and I am so glad that I participated. For a really long time, I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to, and for whatever reasons, like staying home with family, or just it was scary to do such a out of their experience. Going to China is like the furthest, or well, not the furthest, but it's pretty far. And it was definitely something that I didn't start off being comfortable with, but the amount of growth that you receive from putting yourself out there is amazing. And you just learn so much and meet the coolest people. And yeah, it's an opportunity that even if you're on the fence about, you should really look into because, it's once in a lifetime. When else are you going to be able to do something like this?
Well, again, I want to thank you very much for taking the opportunity to speak with us today. And I'm glad to hear you had such a positive experience studying
I
abroad in
did.
China.
Yes.
Well, you have a good rest of your day and good luck with your continuing studies there at Skidmore.
Thank you so much.